The movement stands outside of traditional institutional politics, but it matters as a political force that has the potential to transform traditional institutional politics. In my brief opening remarks, I want to suggest 3 ways that the Occupy movement matters. The first is that Occupy may shift public agendas. It has politicians, journalists, and citizens talking about issues that they weren't talking about before the protest began. Last month, in a post headlined, "Occupy Wall Street is Winning," Ben Smith of the influential blog Politico asserted that the Occupy protests have succeeded in engaging the country in a conversation about income inequality. He noted that news organizations currently mention the phrase income inequality 5 times more frequently than they did before the protest began. Now, we can think of specific references to the Occupy protests elsewhere in politics, media, and culture, from MSNBC to Fox, from Rachel Maddow and Ed Schultz to Bill O'Reilly and Joe Scarborough, from Barack Obama to Newt Gingrich. Of course, the people mentioning the protest are not going to agree about what it means and whether it's good or bad. For example, in October, when asked about Occupy during a press conference, President Obama said, quote, "The protesters are giving voice to a more broad-based frustration about how our financial system works." Just a few days later, the current Republican frontrunner, Newt Gingrich, said regarding the protests that they were, quote, "a natural outcome of a bad system teaching students really dumb ideas." Now, will Barack Obama and Newt Gingrich ever agree about why the Occupy movement matters? Probably not. But that's why Occupy matters. It matters because the protests have gotten the President of the United States and a potential political opponent in the general election to talk about the movement. It is a truism, but it's no less important for this reason, that we cannot address public needs and interests unless we talk about them as part of a public agenda. Occupy may shift public agendas by introducing specific issues onto agendas and by contributing to shifts in political culture. The protests may get politicians talking about further financial reforms, and they may help shift political culture so that politicians no longer tie the health of the economy so directly to the fortunes of large corporations like AIG and Citibank. Occupy may shift political culture so that, as some have demanded, politicians focus less on Wall Street and more on Main Street. My second point is that Occupy reminds us that people matter in politics. Typically, when we hear about what the public thinks, we hear about it through the abstracted form of the opinion poll. We are bombarded daily by opinion polls about public affairs. X number of people think that Obama is doing a good job. Y number of people think the economy will get better next year. Z number of people will vote to recall Scott Walker, and on and on. But opinion polls depend on someone conducting a survey. Their questions sometimes lead people to certain answers, and they limit how people may respond. Before Occupy, even amid a recession, few people were talking about income inequality or whether public policy is disproportionately geared towards wealthy Americans. And then some people showed up in a park in New York City. Not just one person, but 10 people, 100 people, and more. Not just New York, but parks in other cities. Not just parks, but other places. Not just polls, but people. People marching, talking, sitting, singing. We saw the same thing in Madison this year. Once you gather people, others have to take notice. Gather enough people and you articulate public opinion. Loudly, forcefully, powerfully. Public opinion polls often appear disembodied. They present numbers that may not seem connected to real people. People gathered in protest present an alternative account of public opinion. My third point is that Occupy offers people symbols to rally around. The Occupy protests present symbols for collective action, ideas, images, and phrases that people may rally around to conduct other political action. In my view, two symbols stand out. Occupy, a key word in the name of the original protest. The word occupy itself has been invoked to motivate political action. Occupy Wall Street has spread to Oakland, to Amsterdam, to Istanbul, to Appleton, Madison, and elsewhere. It has moved from parks to homes to conferences to Congress. The very spread of the word occupy suggests its power as a symbol. Occupy means to fill space and time. It also means to take control. And here the symbol of Occupy suggests that institutions and agents do not serve ordinary people, people without money and connections. And ordinary people have demanded that powerful institutions and actors change their practices. 99%. This seems to me to be the most powerful symbol people have drawn from the protest. 99% suggests that the Occupy protests concern virtually everyone. The protesters are not marginal, nor are they extremists. We are the 99%, as the saying goes. The claim to represent nearly everyone holds the potential to mediate without erasing differences in particular interests and opinions, race, ethnicity, gender and sexual orientation, and even political party affiliation. The protests represent fundamental concerns, as basic as human well-being and as crucial to democracy as citizen participation. The symbol of the 99% sets up a seemingly absurd situation. Why would the 99% need to protest so that its needs and interests should be represented? Shouldn't it be obvious to everyone that policy should address the needs of the overwhelming majority of the population? If the need to represent the 99% seems absurd, then a system that represents only 1% could be dismissed as ridiculous, indefensible, unjustifiable. As a symbol, 99% makes the status quo seem extreme. Of course, even though the phrase 99% makes claims to widespread representation, we know that 99% of the population of New York, or of the United States, or, yes, even Madison, will not see themselves represented by this phrase. But the phrase presents a challenge to people who would disagree with political arguments made on its behalf. How should one disagree without seeming elitist? In this way, 99% functions symbolically in ways that patriotism has been invoked to serve political ends. It suggests a form of collective political identity and places the burden on those who disagree to explain why their position is consistent with broader principles. So I focused on three ways in which I think Occupy matters: shifting public agendas, making people matter, and providing symbols for political action. I look forward to our conversation.